Oopsie. Hello everyone. And Toete, I'm going to murder you. I'm going to make Goblin Slayer look like the friendliest person to goblins in the entire world. Get over here. But, hello everyone. I hope you're all doing very well. I'm doing quite well. Copyright, thank you for joining, and hello, Toete. What have you missed? I had a little bit of a tummy ache last night, and Toete seems to think that that means I am in some way pregnant. Apparently, I can assure you that is not the case. I can assure you that's not the case here. Hang on. Did you eat? I had a chicken korma. I don't even think like korma isn't even that bad. That's the thing. Like it's not like a super spicy food. I think my stomach just wasn't the best. It was a little upset about something, not because of a pregnancy. I'm sure you will be a wonderful mom. I do want children. I want to be a good dad. I want to be a good dad to Ete. To like at least two. No, at least 3 children. I want at least 3. Renat is the dad. That's not how it works, Toetti. It's not how it works. It's not scientific. Unless I don't know. I don't know. Don't you smug me. But I hope everyone's had a good start to the week. I was able to be at home all day today, and I went for a bit of a walk, but it was also lashing rain at one point, so I was sort of like, your son is going to be Philip the second. Well, I would, if I had a son that was as capable as Philip, I would be a very very proud father. Unfortunately, these days, you know, exceptional sons aren't able to distinguish themselves by conquering vast swaths of land and you know, making an empire. Really, we should go back to that, but who knows? Maybe he can go. You know what? Maybe I'll send my son, if it's still in a case of anarchy, I might send him off over to Haiti to calm things down over there. Did you guys see that? Did you guys hear about what's happening in Haiti? There's apparently, as horrible as it is, it's genuinely horrible, but at the same time, there's a gang cannibal leader, or a cannibal gang leader named Barbecue. What is happening on that island? Yeah, I'm not even lying to Eddie. There's apparently, recently, Haiti has, well, not recently. It's always been a little bit messed up. But there's apparently now cannibal gangs going around the place, and one is called Barbecue. I have to say, I have a feeling he might end up regretting that name if he ever makes his gang upset. But I, for one, would not want to be going anywhere near Haiti for... Well, in general, I didn't want to go to Haiti anyway. It's mad, though, isn't the... I think it's the Dominican Republic. No, is that right? I don't think that's... Oh, wait, hang on. Haiti Island. Oh, it is the Dominican Republic. I was right. The Dominican Republic is like well known for being like beautiful and a great place. Yeah, Dominica. I wasn't too sure if I had the right country. Look at the satellite image. I almost don't want to. I feel like I'd just be sad. Because like one country is, well, a mess, and the other is like meant to be like a great getaway spot. I'm sure it has its own issues, but what a weird world we live in. Yes, copyright. You're tired. Oh. Well, we'll be starting reading in a little while, I think, maybe 5 minutes or so. We have an interesting. We're saying a chapter called "The War with Athens." So interesting to see how that's gonna play out. Well, we know he wins. We know Philip wins in the end, but it will definitely be interesting to see how it occurs. I was doing a little bit of practice today with "You Want to Sleep." Hopefully we can make that happen soon. Uh, but feel free to I don't know, put me off to the side and go to sleep. Especially if you want to sleep and you are very tired. Copyright, do please get proper sleep. I somehow was able to get away with only a couple of hours of rest last night. I went to bed at around half two. I want to say maybe three. I fell asleep by about then. Uh, oh, that actually reminds me. Thank you, copyright. I should probably fill up my water bottle. Give me a moment. Okay, well I can't find my actual water bottle. I think I must have left it somewhere, probably downstairs or something. But I filled up an empty plastic bottle. I can't wait to get my daily dose of microplastics. It's very important that you get those. They're a part of a healthy, balanced modern diet. uh, when is Rua Jackson coming back? Well, actually, I had a karaoke stream only last Friday, I want to say, or Saturday. I think it was Friday. The VOD should still be on my channel, so you can check that out. Copyright, but it doesn't have any music. I'm not kidding you. I did have a little karaoke night. It doesn't have any music because I mute the music for the VOD so I don't get sued into oblivion. So you will literally just have me singing. That's all you'll have. And it's gonna sound really bad. You did, unfortunately. I do apologize. Uh, but there'll be more. I'm planning on doing, you know, the odd singing stream here and there. Maybe once a month or something, or maybe once every couple of weeks anyway. Just throw on some music and enjoy, have fun, do different things. My friend Ace P Caswell, another VTuber, recommended me sing some on Friday. I think it was Friday. Yeah, I I'm forgetting, or it might have been Saturday. Um, but my friend Ace, he suggested singing some Fallout music, and that was a great shout by him. Great shout. Because I actually had a lot of fun doing like Uranium Fever and stuff. Very much enjoy that music. I used to listen to it all the time actually for uh, like a while back. When I first played, my first Fallout game was 4, and my only Fallout game. I have since watched a lot of like video essays on why New Vegas is great and why 4 sucks. um, not by that guy H Bomber. I think that's his name, H Bomber. Rather, I went with Patrician TV. He makes very long video essays, like multiple hours. Sometimes he has to break them up into 2 videos because like they're both 8 hours long, and you can't have a 16-hour long video. I personally think it's based to do such a thing. It's nice. It's almost just like it's really great listening material because you can just throw it on in the background and follow along to him critiquing the game. And I think he's quite fair. He often will point out things that are well done and things that aren't. He had a very good one on the massive multiplayer Fallout that they did. Fallout 76, I think it was called, something like that. Anyway, but I never did get into Fallout. I was a Skyrim head. And actually, I was thinking if I have some time after ideally finishing this chapter today, I might play a little bit of CK2. I'm currently doing a Skyrim game where I'm reforming the Forsworn borders, the Forsworn Empire. So that'll be a fun challenge for me. I think I'm already kind of big enough that I can start rolling through some of the enemies. Skyrim. That was probably one of my most played games for a lot before I got a PC or a laptop or anything. After that, it very quickly became CK2 and Mountain Blade Warband. God, I played way too much Mountain Blade Warband. And CK2, but I always used to play it. It's a very fun game. It is, and it's a weird game in that there is a lot of flaws. There's a lot of issues with it, but at the same time, there's something about it that just keeps bringing me back to it. I imagine that's probably the case with everyone's first Elder Scrolls game, be it Oblivion or Morrowind. Whichever one you played first is the one you love, and you'll keep redoing and replaying characters. The amount of restarts and new games I have, you never played any of them, Tuete. Your first was Morrowind. I've heard that that's quite the game. I would. I don't know. It's kind of hard because I think there's a lot of nostalgia going on for me as well with Skyrim. It's like you can mod the hell out of Skyrim and make it a completely different game and fix a lot of issues. But that wasn't how I experienced Skyrim. I experienced it on consoles. But I still really enjoyed it. I think one of the craziest things was that like I was still finding new things. Sent me Skyrim. Oh, those type of mods. Yes, those type of mods. I have seen those type of mods before. There's some very interesting individuals out there. Particularly a certain combat punishment mod, let's say. Some people have some weird kinks. I should get Skyrim, and I have. Well, fair, copyright. Whatever floats your boat, as they say. I imagine that there's a lot of conflicts and crashes that can happen with just modding Skyrim in general. Hello, how are you? Oh, is she gonna say it? Drown check. Thank you very, very much. I grab my water bottle. I don't have my usual water bottle, unfortunately, so it's just a plastic one. It's an empty Lucozade bottle. I've had Lucozade in a long time. It was a nice change of pace. I hope you're doing well, Haru, though. Busy start of the week, or kind of relaxed. Mine was busy. I'm at that point in time where I don't get, even though I had to do, a lot of work, it's like it's the new normal. You can't throw a metal water bottle at me anymore. No, you can't. Not for a while anyway. I'll find it. I'll find wherever I put it. It's probably downstairs. You were tidying my house earlier and you don't even remember where you put my water bottle. It's pretty chill. I hope you don't jinx it. I will touch wood. There you go. I touched my desk. And hope that you didn't jinx it. That's the one of the few what? I think you underestimate how large this water bottle is. It can hold like a liter. You'd have to unhinge your jaw like a snake. But that's the one. That's the one jinx thing that I always do. If I ever say anything that could go wrong, I have to. I have to go touch wood and touch something that's wooden. Oh, You're taking after. You're taking after Sasa. Sasa VU. Wait, can Sasa unhinge his jaw? He is part snake. You knock on wood. I do the same. Like it's knock on wood or touch wood or something. It's one of the few ones I do. I know. I remember. I used to know a lot of the bird ones. It used to be like if you saw a certain number of a type of bird, but I can't remember what they are anymore. It's all gone. All pushed out with history and other knowledge. There's only a finite amount of info in my brain that I can have at any one point. I need to upgrade to a higher hard drive or SSD, but my brain is currently running a little bit low on memory. Sometimes I forget names. The same. I am so bad with like names. It's not even funny, honestly. If I'm not interacting with someone regularly, and I haven't ingrained their name in my mind, there's a good chance I will be like, what's their name? You're good with faces, bad at names. That's very much me. I will know that I know someone, but I will not, and I can't attempt to say their name either, because I know like if I get it wrong, it's gonna look so bad. It's hard, especially when all names sound alike. There is that aspect. Okay. Because yeah, there is a lot of names that kind of just blend together. Glad your name is unique. Toete is quite a cool name, I will say. Toete. Oh, I was trying to call a company across the world today, and I don't think they exist because I called every single member. Oh, here we go with copyright. His name is Batman. I called every single member on their website, and not a single one of them picked up. Every single person. It all went to voicemails, and some of them had real voicemails. But I think it was just someone very good at voices pretending to be them. Might be AI at this point. I just don't understand. Like it was in perfect time to call them. I think I think it's a fake company. I was like, please. I like saw a guy called William. I was like, William, please pick up, William. I know. You look like a professional guy. You'll pick up. And then he didn't pick up. And then I tried like Hazel, and she didn't pick up. And then I tried a guy in a suit, and he didn't pick up either. It would be kind of difficult if Copyright 69 joined the chat. It would be. That would be concerning. I wonder what he got copyright striked for. There's too many Harus in the world. I know 3 Harus. You, Kaida Haru. Wait, do I know 4? Kaida Haru, Niji Sanji Chuba, and then Haru, another VTuber, a cute wolf. Very high voice for a guy, but he has a great kind of look, great kind of style. What's his full name again? Haru Mizuki. Haru Mizuki, that's it. Whenever I join a server, there's a Haru there, like the name Milky. That's a new one for me. I haven't seen that one before. Oh no, wait, no, I do know 4 Harus, because I know another Haru just randomly. I know like more than 10. Yeah, but like you guys will congregate together. It's like you'll see each other's named Haru, and you're like, oh, and you'll join, you'll band together. Oh, excuse me a moment. I just have to check something very quick. Okay, all good. It was very, very funny actually, very cute. Haru Mizuki posted about being a wolf and not a dog, because some people would call him a dog, and he he did a thing that reminded me a lot of what another VTuber from Niji Sanji does. Uh, that VTuber's name is Matt. You used to be a dog. You know, there's enough people in this VTubing space that I'm not surprised. I feel like everyone goes through a dog or a cat phase, or some kind of animal phase. I don't know what I'm gonna go through yet. Maybe like a parrot. Yeah, I'm a parrot because I read books and I don't come up with any original thoughts. um, that would be a good one. Uh, Hang on, Niji Sanji. Mashiro? Is it Mashiro? No, it's not Mashiro. It's oh, this is gonna infuriate me. Um, Dog VTuber, because I know he had to get a whole new like, no, not Shiba. Hmm. I'll remember in at some point. Now I'm an unknown breed. Jesus signal, please. An unknown breed. Oh no, Haru, you're a mutt. You're a mutt. They can't even figure out where you came from. That was mean to call you a mutt. I'm sorry. There's also a VTuber with a dog named Haru. Is that you? Are you secretly that dog's? Are you secretly that VTuber's dog? Well, you're my favorite Haru. Oh well, actually, okay, that might be a slight lie because like Kaida Haru was one of my Oshis a while back, so that it's kind of it's kind of a tough spot there, Haru. It's kind of tough spot. Like like literally he was my first Oshi. No, Haru, you're very close there too. I don't. It's genuinely hard because like he's my Oshi. Well, he was my Oshi. I have another Oshi. Do you guys have multiple Oshis? Kaida Haru was the person I'm talking about. There's so many VTuber I can't keep track of. No, Haru, don't cry. Don't cry. No. You're okay, okay. Okay, I'll give you a slight raise. I'll give you a slight raise. Don't cry. If you just throw money at the problem, guys. Just throw money at the problem and you'll win. You have no Oshis. No one. Who what about that guy, that red guy that you really like? Um inhales back tears. It solves many problems. Flayon, yes, Flayon. You're quite a fan of Flayon, aren't you? Or do you just think he's very, very good looking? Don't you? That's the extent of it. I want to kiss him, but he is not my Oshi. you got auto modded, but we'll allow it. You want to kiss him, but he's not your Oshi. You know what? That's fair. That's understandable. That's understandable. Yeah, you can't just base your Oshi on soul attraction. I mean, you guys aren't just fans because of me, for instance, just because you like the way I look, right? Automod is such a beep. Oh, that reminds me. I was doing some practice today for like my high voice. It was something my singing coach recommended. Basically, it's weird. She says that like singing high kind of starts from the lower abdominals and the legs. Or whatever way you're kind of meant to properly brace to support that type of singing. So like the way she was trying to get me to get up to that range was by kind of half squatting. You came to Albionus's voice chat one day and I had no idea who you were. That's how I knew you existed. That's true, that's true. I just randomly found you, Tuete. I used to follow Tuete ages ago. Long before I was a VTuber. And I just enjoy him. I just enjoyed his art, and then I in a server with about 10 people in it, I randomly came across a goblin, and I told him how nice I enjoyed, or how much I enjoyed his anatomy and his drawings. And now he's threatening me with dangerous art. It's weird how things work out. Singing is a skill I was born with, just disintegrated because of time. R- Ooh. Wait, no, but wait. I'm confused. Singing is a skill. Oh, you were born with, but just disintegrated because. Oh, do you just not sing as much anymore, Haru? I love to hear you sing. I think I've heard you sing once or twice. I remember it being quite nice. Okay, we're gonna have to do a community Discord karaoke night sometime soon. Not next weekend because I have a collab next weekend. Filipino got him that cheat sheet. Yeah, they're from what I've heard, you guys are literally like don't even try and do karaoke with you guys because it's gonna be over. It's over. My mother actually released a small album before. She's meant to be a very good singer, and I've actually never heard her sing. Oni-san is good. Kwai is good. Is she? Okay. Yeah, we'll have to. I remember her being quite good as well. Vaguely, I can have a vague memory of that karaoke night. We're gonna have to do that. Would you be up for doing that, Toete? Karaoke night. I don't know what you'd sing. You might do, you might do like gachi, some gachi bass. Man, you'd sing about men, huh? Your singing voice is a sin. I think that's the fun part about karaoke though, is people are just like, let's go. We'll sing, you'll just listen. That's fair. That's fair, Harry. I'll certainly sing. I'll do some songs. I mean, you guys have already heard me sing more than enough, but I will ruin your ears some more. I wouldn't even know what to sing. Just do like Rick Astley or something. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. Probably Sun. I don't know who that is. I will look them up. Oh no, Haru, I'm sorry. I don't think that counts though, because I literally I literally said Rick Astley. Like it was not a surprise. Here kommt the sun. I don't know. Here come. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is that? Here comes the sun. Do 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 do. Here comes the sun, and I say, it's alright. Do 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 do. Is that song? That's all I can think of. Like I'm looking at another language. I'm saying here kommt the sun. It's Ramstein. Ah, okay, okay. I see, I see. Baby shark doo 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 doo. Baby shark doo 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 doo. Toete shark doo 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 doo. Goblin shark. I see, I see. I'll have to look this up. It was funny that Here Kommt the Sun happened to be another song with those exact same lyrics. Which is a great tune, by the way. I'll have to sing that one sometime. But I think Uharu knows that one. I'll have to check it out. I think I would like to get into the reading, just to make a dent. I don't know if we'll get through the full chapter today, but we'll at least have a nice kind of chunk of reading. Let me take a quick drink of water. Water, mate. Don't spill. You got auto modded. You got Automod and Haru telling me to go drown. Get wrecked. You go drown. No people can tell me to go drown myself. I'll throw you off a bridge. No! Automod! Automod, she's directly threatening me. What is this? Why do you catch the accidental or the incorrect ones and then you allow them to just straight threaten me? What is this? Automod did you pay him off? You paid off Automod, didn't you? You're spelling drown like you would like pwn. Capital W's and O's and zeros. I don't know, Automod is pretty strong. Okay. I think so. We might get into the audiobook experience. I do feel bad for any like people who are looking for ASMR who come in before I start reading, and they're just have to deal with me talking for like half an hour to 40 minutes. But we get back to our book about Philip, and when we last left off, Philip was in quite a strong position. He was dealing with a couple of issues, such as the Thracians and a couple of other groups. There was some trouble in Thessaly, where some groups were rebelling against him. It seemed at the cusp of his strongest point. Everywhere started to rebel against him, and he had to deal with it. But now he seems to be in a bit of a stronger position once more, and this chapter, however, is titled The War with Athens, a battle or a conflict that's been brewing ever since the first time he took the throne, not even when he was the regent of the child king or the baby king at his first kind of time of commanding Macedon. Athens still held many ports and were attempted to land a pretender to the Macedon throne, along with his mercenaries, and Philip killed him and slaughtered them. Now it seems we might be about to see this conflict come to a head. Philip had concluded that a genuine peace with Athens was no longer possible. The recent events in the fall and winter of 341 BC convinced him of the soundness of this judgment. In the spring of 340 BC, he began reinforcing his army in Thrace. Antipater and Paramenio arrived from Greece, and more troops of probably Thessalian cavalry, while Macedonian fleet carrying supplies and Philip's siege machinery arrived off the Thracian coast near Cardia. In response to the Athenian provocations regarding Cardia, Philip sent a letter to Athens complaining of its actions. Philip wrote that, quote, "Having made the gods witness, I shall deal with you about these matters." But Philip still did not declare war, even though the Athenians' actions were clearly hostile acts under the peace of Philocrates. Philip enjoyed the high regard of Greek public opinion and was determined to maintain the Greeks' esteem by not being the one to break the peace. Instead, Philip set about goading Athens into declaring hostilities. The Chersonese. Philip already sent a garrison to defend Cardia against further predations by Chares and his mercenaries who were supporting the Athenian settlers on the Chersonese Peninsula. The Chersonese is a narrow strip of land. The Chersonese. The Chersonese is a narrow strip of land extending southwesterly from the Thracian mainland into the Aegean Sea. 48 miles in length, the peninsula is 15 miles at its widest point, and only 3.5 miles across its northern neck, where a wall ran completely across the Isthmus. The peninsula comes closest to the Asian mainland at the city of Sestus, located about 2/3 of the way down to the eastern coast, and was the main crossing point of the Hellespont that separated Europe from Asia, and linked the Aegean with the Sea of Marmara. Command of the Chersonese was vital to controlling the sea route from the Aegean to the Black Sea. Its location also offered a strategic platform from which to launch attacks into Asia or further along the Marmara coast to Byzantium. The peninsula offered fertile soil to its settlers, and in antiquity the area was known for its wheat production. The Athenians settled the peninsula in the 6th century BC and founded 12 cities there. Although the peninsula had changed hands several times since then, in 357 BC Athens again took possession of the Chersonese. The main city of Cardia controlled the route from the peninsula to the mainland and refused to join the Athenian League. In 352 BC, Cardia concluded a treaty of friendship with Philip. In 346 BC, this treaty also fell later under the provision of the Peace of Philocrates. The outrages the Athenian mercenaries perpetrated against Cardia thus constituted a breach of the peace accord, and Philip was well within his rights to defend his allies and blame Athens. After warning Athens of its violation, Philip sent his army into the Chersonese in the spring of 340 BC. Antipater had arrived with more troops, and Philip's army numbered 30,000 soldiers. While his fleet sailed alongside his route of march, Philip entered the Isthmus on the west side, marched completely around the peninsula, and arrived back at Cardia. It was a dramatic demonstration of Philip's military strength. He could have attacked any of the Athenian settlements, seized Athenian ships, or announced the annexation of key parts of the peninsula. Instead, Philip took no military action against the Athenian settlers. Nonetheless, the message was clear. Philip could reduce the Chersonese to Macedonian control at any time. The Athenian ships were away from the peninsula at the time of Philip's raid, and Chares made no efforts to interfere with Philip's fleet. The march through the Chersonese may have had the strategic purpose of provoking Athens into declaring war, perhaps by igniting a military incident between Philip and Chares, but Athens did not react. Philip sent another letter to Athens, offering to submit the matter to arbitration. The Siege of Perinthus. In the early summer of 340 BC, Philip marched 70 miles along the coast from Cardia to Perinthus on the Sea of Marmara, and took Perinthus under siege. Let me see if I have a map of the Chersonese. Not that one. That's... might do. No. I should have labeled these. Nope, that's completely the wrong thing. Those are completely wrong images. Okay, I don't have one, unfortunately. I don't even know why I still have that. The puzzle is why Philip attacked Perinthus, along with Selembria, modern Civilry, 17 miles farther down the coast and Byzantium, located 37 miles beyond Selembria. Perinthus had been an ally of Philip's since 352 BC, when the Thracian king Certoblites attacked the city, and Philip came to its aid. Diodorus says that Philip marched against Perinthus, which was opposed to him, and which was inclined to the Athenians. Demosthenes suggests that Philip's attack was a result of the city's refusal to supply Philip with troops for his most recent campaign. There is no evidence in any Athenian speeches of a rapprochement between Athens and Perinthus. The city was not of any known strategic value. Indeed, no evidence is available that the Athenian grain ships had ever called at Perinthus. If Philip wanted to interrupt the Athenian grain route, taking Perinthus was of little use. Why, then, did Philip attack Perinthus? The answer may lie in Philip's grand strategic plan for Thrace. By 340 BC, Philip controlled all of Thrace, south of the Great Balkan Mountains, and as far east as the Black Sea coast. He also established alliances with many of the Greek states and cities along the west coast of the Black Sea, with the Scythians in the Dobruja region of the Danube Delta, and with the Getae farther east. He also made alliances with many of the Greek states along the Aegean coast. All that was left beyond Philip's command was the coast of the Sea of Marmara, from the Hellespont to the Bosporus, where the independent cities of Perinthus, Seleucia, and Byzantium controlled access through both straits. Philip's Thracian policy aimed at creating a deep military defensive zone to protect Macedonia from a possible Persian attack. Philip could in the future. In the Persian. Philip could also use the zone as a strategic platform from which to invade Persia in the future. His concern was that the three cities, in alliance with Persia, could do much to neutralize Macedonian power in Thrace, and to disrupt any invasion of Persia. Moreover, Athens was a maritime power whose large navy could project force over long distances. If Philip did not occupy the coastal cities of the Sea of Marmara, Athens could use them to land troops there and threaten Macedonian control of Thrace. Athenian troops could then march east, destroying Macedonian cities in Thrace until the Athenians were in range of Macedonia itself. Thus, Philip's Thracian strategy required that he take the three cities eventually. The attacks on Perinthus and Byzantium, therefore, should be understood as Philip's attempt to complete the subjugation of Thrace, with a view towards consolidating a Macedonian strategic defense perimeter. Welcome in, Dee. Welcome in. It's nice to have you. I lurked a little bit in your stream. I was going to say hi, and then I had to go do work, and it was lame. But it's always nice to see you. I hope you've been well. I hope you enjoy the reading today. But Philip apparently did not. I missed the singing stream. Oh no! Oh yeah. There is the VOD. There is the VOD. But again, that's just me. There's no music, and it will sound even worse. It will sound even worse. It was only for a little while. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to stick around very long. I try and pop in when I can, though. Philip apparently did not believe that his existing alliances with the cities were sufficient to guarantee their loyalty, and there is probably some truth in Diodorus's claim that Perinthus had begun to incline towards Athens as a means to check Philip's increasing influence in the region. The same was probably true of Byzantium. If Philip thought that Perinthus's inclination was sufficient for Athens to come to that city's aid and declare war on Philip, he was disappointed. Athens correctly assessed Perinthus's lack of strategic importance to its grain route and did nothing. For the time being, Perinthus was on its own. Diodorus tells us that Philip brought his force of 30,000 strong against Perinthus. The Macedonian navy had also arrived, carrying a store of missiles and siege engines as well as a quantity of other machines, of other kinds that could not be bettered. The number of Macedonian ships was necessarily small, perhaps no more than 20 or 30, and thus could not command the sea off Perinthus. The navy beached his fleet a mile or so down the coast. Philip's army was enormous by Greek standards of the day, and comprised speciality units from his allies and subjects peoples around a corps of Macedonian pikemen, infantry, and cavalry. If Philip intended to bring the cities under his control, he certainly had the manpower and resources to do so. But Perinthus was no soft target. Perinthus lies by the sea of what one might be called the neck of a high peninsula, which it stayed about 200 yards in breadth. With the city wall running completely across the isthmus. The city rested on the side of a steep hill about 160 feet high. The houses and buildings inside its walls were built on terraces, one behind the other up the steep hillside, and, quote, are densely packed together and conspicuous for their height. These houses are constructed in such a way that they invariably project one above one another along the slope of the hill and endow the entire city with the appearance of a tiered theatre. Once inside the main wall, the attacker found himself confronted by rubble and additional defences as the defenders, who blocked the narrow roads in front of and in between their houses, retreated upwards towards the next terrace. Quote, the besieged kept barricading the alleys, making use of the lower tier of houses on each occasion as a substitute for strong walls. Any invader force faced bloody hand-to-hand combat with the defenders. Complicating Philip's plan, Perinthus was opened to the sea. While Philip could prevent reinforcements and supplies from reaching the city by land, his small navy could not prevent aid from arriving by ship. Finally, if Philip intended to capture Byzantium as well, then Perinthos had to be captured quickly. Philip could not afford a protracted siege. Thus he threw the full weight of his siege engines and engineers against the 200-foot wall blocking the isthmus. Diodorus tells us that, having constructed towers 80 cubits in height, or about 35 meters, or 116 feet, oh my god, which rose far above the towers of Perinthos, he contrived from the commanding heights of these machines to reduce the besieged. In like manner his battering rams shook the walls, and his mining operations, which dug underneath them, threw down a large portion of the wall. The king had large quantities of artillery of different types and sought to use it to destroy those who were fighting from the parapets. Dividing his forces into several parts, he maintained unremittingly his attack on the walls in relays from day and night. Philip's engineers succeeded relatively quickly in overcoming the main city wall, only to have Perinthians retreat and blockade the alleys and doorways to the next layer of terraced houses, quickly erecting another wall against him. The fighting was intense on both sides, and some unbelievable contests took place in the course of the fighting for the wall. Both sides suffered heavy casualties, and the Perinthians were on their last legs when help arrived from the sea, from Byzantium and the king of Persia. Byzantium sent troops, missiles, and other implements of weaponry, including the best of commanders and soldiers they had at their disposal. Of grave significance was the Persian king's support. Persia had come to regard Philip with suspicion, and the king ordered the satraps closest to the city to send aid to the Perinthians. The satraps sent the Perinthians a force of mercenaries, abundant supplies of money, and adequate stocks of missiles and everything else that would be of use in the war. A short time later, a second Persian force went directly into Thrace to support Diopithes, who was again active in the Chersonese. Persia had not intervened in Europe since Xerxes' invasion, and its policy reversal demonstrates exactly or how seriously the Persians now regarded the threat that Philip posed. Philip's rationale for attacking the cities along the Marmara coast was to keep the Persians from using them against his defensive perimeter in Thrace. However, events had turned Philip's strategy on its head. Philip's actions had now driven these cities into Persia's camp, and precipitated an armed Persian incursion in Thrace, precisely the circumstances Philip had sought to prevent. The Persian and Byzantine reinforcements evened the odds between the besieger and besieged. Philip pressed the attack, however, by launching constant strike against the walls with his battering rams, trying to knock them down. Moreover, by thrusting back the enemy and the battlements, he sought simultaneously to force his way in with the troops in compact formation through breaches in the wall, and to use ladders to climb over the parts of the wall that were denuded of defenders. Accordingly, a hand-to-hand struggle took place in which some were killed and others fell only after succumbing to many wounds. The fighting continued for weeks, with heavy casualties on both sides. Philip was getting nowhere. Byzantium. Never one to stay the course of failure, Philip shifted tactics. According to Diodorus, Philip divided his troops into two parts, and putting half under his best commanders, left them behind to prosecute the siege, while he himself suddenly made an assault with the remainder on Byzantium, and instituted a close siege. Presumably these best commanders were not Antipater and Parmenio, who, if we can believe Theopompus, were commanding their own columns elsewhere in Thrace and attacking the Tetrachoriate for supporting Diopithes' outrages against Cardia. At first glance, Philip's shift in tactics seems foolish. How could he hope to take Byzantium, with its walls and fortifications, with only half of his force, and one that had failed to take Perinthos at that? On the contrary, the attack on Byzantium was a reasonable course of action, and had at least a moderate chance of success. Philip would not have undertaken his plan without first sending his cavalry to conduct a thorough tactical reconnaissance of the route to Byzantium and the city's defences. Byzantium lay 54 miles east of Perinthos along a good coastal road. 17 miles from Perinthos lay the city of Selambria. Although fortified, the small city lacked the ability to seriously interfere with Philip's march. Still, Philip could hardly leave it unmolested across his lines of communication. Justin claims that Byzantium possessed massive fortifications, or Justin's claim that Byzantium possessed massive fortifications is an exaggeration. And for those who may not know, Byzantium became pretty much the primary city of the Roman Empire for a time before the Western Rome fell, and what rose became the Eastern Roman Empire, or the Byzantines. And Byzantium itself is probably one of the most defensive cities the world had ever seen, surviving up until, I think, the 15th century, until it fell to the Ottoman Turks when they brought, gunpowder-based cannons to bear. And that was the end of the Byzantines, at least for a while. It still took a little while. They hung around for a very long time. I think it was the 15th century. Like 14 something. In fact, Byzantium in Philip's day was so much smaller than the great city Constantine built later. It occupied only the high ground of the most eastern part of the headland, jutting into the Bosporus south of the Golden Horn, or approximately the area where Top Kapi and the Hagia Sophia, or the Hajj Sophia, sits today. Its walls were built to repel the attacks of Thracian tribes and not to resist the more advanced techniques of Philip's siege engineers. At best, its walls may have been no more substantial than those of other Greek cities that Philip's engineers had already overcome. It is even possible that these walls were less substantial, since they were designed only to keep out Thracian tribesmen, who did not possess any appreciable siege capability. Finally, Philip was all too aware that Byzantium had sent substantial numbers of troops, artillery, and their best commanders to support the Corinthians. Philip reckoned that the deployment might have left Byzantium so weakened that a sudden surprise assault might have a good chance of succeeding. Of particular interest to Philip were the Byzantine catapults and large quantities of missiles that had been sent to Perinthus. These stone and arrow throwers were crucial to Byzantium's defence, and without them it had no way to keep Philip's engineers and assault ground groups away from the walls. Diodorus confirms Philip's insight was correct. Quote, "Since the Corinthians already had the Byzantine troops, missiles, and other implements of weaponry within their city, the people of Byzantium found themselves in severe difficulty." Philip's force of some 15,000 men could cover the distance to Byzantium in 3.5 days' forced march, arriving outside the city ready to attack and take Byzantium by surprise. A substantial cavalry force riding a day ahead of the main body could reach Selymbria quickly and take up positions as a blocking force. Once Philip's army passed, a small Macedonian force would remain and perhaps even make a feigned attack to bring Selymbria under a siege. As he had done before, Philip used the cover of night to dismantle some of his smaller artillery pieces and prepare them for transport while setting his army on the march. The heavy siege towers were left behind. Philip hardly needed to get bogged down in another long siege. This next attack required mostly light forces, such as his Greek mercenaries and Thracian peltasts, using scaling ladders. Slingers, archers, and light artillery could drive the defenders from the wall, while Philip's assault teams scaled them. With many of their soldiers in Perinthus, the Byzantine defenders would find it difficult to protect the walls against simultaneous attacks from several directions. All things considered, Philip's plan was bold. Philip's plan was bold, but reasonable. If it succeeded, he would capture one of the most strategically important cities in the ancient world. It is uncertain what happened when Philip arrived outside Byzantium, but he may have come within an ace of seizing the city by a coup de main. Philip's army reached the approaches to Byzantium sometime around dusk, apparently having made slower time than anticipated. Philip may have held his troops far enough away from the city so as the defenders would not discover them. Under cover of night, and with the sound of their movements muffled by a rainstorm, Philip's assault teams approached the walls in a daring attempt to storm the city. Unfortunately for Philip, barking dogs alerted the defenders, who were able to repel the attack. The surprise attack failed, and Philip was forced to take the city under siege. Here, at the siege of Byzantium, the Macedonians first used the new experimental torsion catapults, invented by Philip's chief engineer, Polyeidos. I'm still listening, just letting you know. Random chat to let your presence known. No, thank you very much, Toy. I hope you're enjoying me as a audiobook. But thank you for just letting me know you're still around. Always appreciate it. I need to get a good proper lurk emote. While Philip's tactics in attacking Byzantium were sound, his strategy failed to appreciate the environment in which the attack took place. If the Greek states in Persia had come to the aid of Perinthus, it was simply reasonable to expect that they would come to the aid of Byzantium, which was of much greater commercial and strategic importance. Even if Athens and the maritime states somehow failed to respond, Philip could hardly expect that the Persian king would allow Byzantium to fall into Macedonian hands. Once Philip failed to take Byzantium quickly, he found himself bogged down in another long siege against a city that promptly sought and received military support from Athens and the maritime states of Chios, Rhodes, and Kos. Persia, too, provided foods and arms to Byzantium's defenders, and at one point conspired with Chares to coordinate military actions. As Philip's small fleet could not command the sea around the Bosporus, Byzantium continued to be easily supplied by sea. It is interesting to note the size of Philip's forces at this time. While Philip's army of 30,000 Macedonian, Thracian, and allied units besieged Perinthus and Byzantium and blocked Selymbria, Antipater and Parmenio were commanding columns against Greek mercenaries and Thracian rebels in the Chersonese. Back in Macedonia, Alexander was mounting a substantial military operation against the Mede tribes on the upper Strymon River that he completed successfully. Alexander's forces probably drew heavily from Macedonian militia units assembled around a corps of professionals of the king's field army, and must have numbered at least 10,000 troops. Whether Philip succeeded in capturing Byzantium, the Greeks must have noticed that no state by itself, including Athens, could hope to survive an attack by so large a Macedonian army. Macedonian military power was already great enough to conquer Greece. Philip began his siege of Byzantium around early September. Although Chares and his Athenian fleet were active in the Bosphorus, the fleets of the maritime states and the Athenian reinforcements had yet to arrive, so Philip's fleet was still able to move freely around the Sea of Marmara and even the Bosporus. The weather around the Bosporus Black Sea region often turns bad for several days in mid-September, and the Athenian grain fleet of 230 ships returning from the Black Sea ports was forced to put in at Herion, a small port on the Asiatic shore of the Bosporus, where it enters the Black Sea. Denied entrance to the Byzantine harbour because of his reputation for brutality, Chares and his fleet of 40 ships were deployed off Byzantium, and waited to escort the Greek grain ships once they put to sea again. Chares was then called to a meeting of the Persian satraps who supported the Byzantines to plan their counterattack to Philip's siege. The meeting probably took place somewhere on the Asiatic coast. While Chares was away, Philip struck. The Macedonian fleet under Demetrius attacked and blocked the Athenian grain fleet resting at its Herion anchorage. Meanwhile, Philip ferried a ground force over the Bosporus and captured the Athenian crews ashore at Herion. The grain fleet was taken back across the Bosporus. Philip kept only 180 Athenian ships and released the other 50. He dismantled the captured ships and used their timbers to construct siege towers, and he sold some of the grain while keeping the rest to feed his army. Selling the grain and ship's hardware brought Philip a profit of 700 talents, or more than a year's revenue for the city of Athens. Oh no, Athens. Oof. Chares rushed back to his fleet and drove the Macedonian ships into the Black Sea, trapping them there. Philip must have known that when he seized the Athenian grain fleet, that nothing would outrage Athens more than an attack on its food supply. Demosthenes and the others in Athens had been arguing for more than a year that Philip was already at war with Athens, and there was little left to do but declare it formally. Meanwhile, Athens had begun assembling a large fleet to aid Byzantium, and when Philip seized this grain fleet, Athens formally declared war on Philip. Within weeks, a large Athenian fleet sailed for Byzantium to join Chares' fleet. Other allies, Chios, Kos, and Rhodes, also sent warships. In symbolic response, Philip with his bravest men, ravaged a few Athenian towns in the Chersonese. As long as Perinthus and Byzantium were open to the sea and supplied by powerful allies, Philip could not bring either siege to a conclusion. Philip recognized his limitations, and by the end of November he pulled his troops back from both cities and assembled them on the Thracian plain, perhaps at Cable, for rest and replenishment. His fleet, however, were still trapped in the Black Sea. It was probably after Philip had begun to withdraw his army from around Byzantium that he tricked Chares into lifting his blockade of the Bosphorus. Philip sent a bogus letter to Antipater, ordering him to send troops to Thrace immediately, and subdue a great rebellion there. Philip had decided the letter said, to end the siege of Byzantium, march directly into Thrace, and put down the insurrection. As Philip intended, the Athenians stationed at the Bosporus intercepted the letter. Always eager to support any revolt against Philip, Chares and the Athenian fleet set sail for Thrace to help the rebels. Thinking Philip was already leaving Byzantium, Chares' fleet no longer needed to guard the city. The blockade was lifted, allowing Philip's fleet to exit the Black Sea. Gotta ravage a few towns to show the homies you appreciate them. Yeah, that was the way of war to Ete. And yes, I mean, is there anything better than ravaging a couple of towns, doing a little bit of raiding, a little bit of pranking of the neighboring kingdoms, as a way to bond with your best friends. As Philip was preparing to abandon the sieges, he opened negotiations with some of the Greeks who opposed him, and if we can believe Frontinius, some sort of talks were held. While it does not appear that the Athenians took part, some evidence shows that Philip made peace with the Chians and Rhodians, and perhaps even the Byzantines and Perinthians. If he indeed reached such agreements, it was a classic maneuver of Philip's to use diplomacy and shore up his military position when other more pressing matters required his attention. The peace negotiations with his former Thracian adversaries would remove any threat to Philip's rear, and leave him free to deal with Athens and other issues. Imagine working your ass off for your crops and an asshole comes and takes them. True. He let 50 of them go, though. I wonder why. I wonder, did he leave any of them go with grain? Was a sort of a... Could he not capture them? Were they able to get away, or was it like a... We'll allow you to go? As sort of a slight gesture of goodwill. Like, I could have completely starved your city. Famine. But I left some of them go. Remember this. Who knows? The Scythian Campaign. In the spring of 340 BC, when Philip was concluding his conquest of Thrace, the rulers of Apollonia, a trading town on the Black Sea coast, approached him with an offer of alliance from Athias, king of the Scythians. His people occupied the area known as Dobruja, which is located between the lower Danube River, including the Delta, and the Black Sea. Beginning in the marshy Danube plain, the terrain of the sea is initially hilly. To the south is initially hilly, until it gradually runs into a coastal Thracian plain. Dobruja afforded the Scythians easy access to Philip's possessions and allied cities on the plain in the Black Sea coast. When King Atheus suggested an alliance, Philip saw the opportunity to neutralize the Scythians' potential military threat to his back, while he was besieging Perinthus and Byzantium. Gotta leave some to spread the word. They probably left behind what they couldn't carry. Yeah, it was probably something like that. Because that is a lot of ships. I think it was 260 or so, something like that. 230 actually, I think. Yeah, because he took 180 and he left 50 go. Serious grain fleet. And to think that he got more than a year's worth from selling the timber and grain. My god. When Atheus took the initiative for the alliance and used the Apollonians as intermediaries, he was engaged in a war with the king of the Histriani, a native people who lived in and around the Danube Delta to the north. Indeed, he was being distressed by the war, that is, getting the worst of it. Atheus had recently expanded his kingdom southward and was concerned that Byzantium might use its influence with the Black Sea coastal states to oppose him later. Thus he welcomed Philip's efforts to reduce Byzantium to a Macedonian protectorate. The offer that the Apollonians presented to Philip suggested that in exchange for a military alliance and provision of Macedonian troops, the Scythian king was prepared to, quote, adopt Philip for his successor to the throne of Scythia. The offer would be sealed by Philip's marriage to Atheus's daughter. The entire throne, sure. It is unlikely that Philip believed Atheus was prepared to deliver his kingdom in exchange for a few troops. Atheus, after all, had much in common with Philip. He had spent his life conquering and uniting a coalition of tribes from the Macedonian marshes to the Danube, and creating a state that the Greeks later called Scythia Minor. Although he was in his 90s, Atheus was probably not about to relinquish his claim to his life's work. In the short run, though, an alliance, however temporary it may prove to be, will remove any Scythian threat to Philip while he was attempting to subdue the coastal cities of the Marmara coast. Philip thus agreed to the alliance and sent an unknown number of troops, probably mercenaries, to Atheus. I know he was an old man, especially back then. I mean, this dude is probably fighting. He's probably still leading armies. What a badass. Imagine the stories he could tell. If he like fell off his horse, he'd be dead in an instant. Modern medicine makes us live longer is such a lie. I think what it is especially around those times, it's like child infancy was so high. Excuse me. That it really drags down the average age. But if you make it past, like, your teens, you're gonna live till probably somewhere around 50 or 60, assuming you don't die in war. If you want to live long, you gotta march for war. Yeah, keeps you nice and fit and healthy. The few who lived a shit ton. They really did. Don't worry. While the troops were en route to the Danube, events took a positive turn for Atheus. The king of the Histriani died and relieved the Scythians both from the fear of war and the want of assistance. When the Macedonian troops arrived, Atheus sent them back to Philip, and they arrived sometime during the siege of Byzantium. Had Atheus left the matter at that, nothing more might have come of it. But Atheus sent a message to Philip that Atheus, quote, had neither sought his aid nor proposed his adoption, for the Scythians needed no protection from Macedonians to whom they were superior in the field, nor did he himself want an heir, as he had a son living. Atheus claimed that it was all a misunderstanding, and that the Apollonians had apparently been mistaken when they presented the original terms of Atheus's proposed alliance. Philip was still occupied with the Byzantium siege, and replied reasonably that he would be satisfied if Atheus, as his ally, would defray at least a portion of the siege's expense, and the cost of the mercenaries that Philip had sent to Atheus. All this back and forth would have taken several weeks, and avoided an open break with Atheus. All the activities they did, they would have just been very, very healthy people. It is difficult to see what Atheus hoped to gain by straining relations with Philip, but his reply to Philip's request was an insult, claiming that Scythia is a poor country with poor soil and a harsh climate. Atheus said that he, quote, had no treasure to satisfy so great a king, and that he thought it less honourable to do little than to refuse altogether. Then came a veiled threat. The Scythians, Atheus said, were to be estimated by their valour and hardiness of body, not by their possessions. By this time, the siege of Byzantium was winding down as Philip had decided to abandon it. He moved his army inland, gathered his troops from Perinthus and Silumbria, and those campaigning under Parmenio and Antipater, and replenished his army for further action. While he rested his army, Philip sent a message to Atheus saying that while Philip, was besieging Byzantium, he had vowed a statue to Heracles, which he was going to erect at the mount of the Ister, Danube, requesting an unobstructed passage to pay his vow to the god, since he was coming as a friend of the Scythians. The wily Atheus saw the request for what it was, an attempt to get inside Scythian defences. Atheus replied that if Philip sent him the statue, Atheus would gladly install it on the Danube. He refused to allow an army to enter his territory. Moreover, if Philip, quote, should set up the statue in spite of the Scythians, he, Atheus, would take it down when he was gone, and turn the brass of it into heads for arrows. Sometime in early winter, perhaps, late December or early January, Philip and his army marched north into Dobruja to deal with the Scythian king. Whoa. Justin tells us that a great battle was fought between Philip's army and the Scythians. There is no reason to think that Philip's army was any fewer than the 30,000 men with whom he had conquered Thrace and besieged Byzantium. But Justin says that the Scythians were superior in courage and numbers, implying that Atheus' army was even larger. If so, the battle was one of the largest between two combatants recorded in antiquity. The evidence does not indicate where the battle was fought, but it is possible that Atheus moved his army south over the hilly country and onto the flat inland plain to give his horse archers every advantage in speed and mobility. Yeah, so if you guys don't know, the Scythians are horse archers, and we've seen that that group can be pretty strong. That's where the term the Scythian shot comes from, because the Scythians were well known for being able to turn around in their seats, or like on their horses, and shoot behind themselves as they were riding. Supposedly, anyway. They're fun to play in Civ 6. They're really fun to play in Total War Attila, or pretty much any of the Total War games where they're in. Because it's just kiting. You just shoot the enemy as you run around. And they can't do anything. They're actually, like, it's actually unfair. Not unfair, but really difficult to fight them. A large army of them in Mount and Blade. And they did such a great job in Mount and Blade Bannerlord, I think anyway. If you have horse archers in your army, and a large amount of them, and you charge them, you just tell them to charge, they will literally ride in a circle around the enemy forces and shoot arrows at them. Now, of course, they're likely going to get intercepted by maybe another force of soldiers or cavalry, but if you're just all horse archers versus an infantry-only group, they will ride around and slaughter them, slowly, piece by piece. And when they run out of arrows, they'll just run down the enemy. It's really fun and really terrifying to fight against. It seems the strategy in every game is the same against the Scythians. Gotta pray they don't catch you. It's very difficult. You can do some interesting maneuvers, but it doesn't really work that well. Your best bet is to hope that you're not on a big open plain, and try and get them on a hill or something, so that they're going up a hill and you kind of manage to block them. A modded version of that. Do you mean like Mount and Blade Bannerlord? I want to play some more Bannerlord, actually. It's such a good game. Well, I enjoyed it. I know there's issues with it. I'm gonna have to re-update my Mount and Blade Warband Viking Conquest Balance Mod Edition, because I think I messed something up, unfortunately. And it's Viking Conquest is probably my favorite game if I had to pick one. I played that game so much, even though it doesn't have as much cavalry combatants. It's still a lot of fun. I saw in Syria mercenaries on motorcycles doing essentially that in modern war gear. Yeah, that's just blood memory. I even there's even like, you know, Mongolian biker gangs where that's very much the feel. It's like modern blood memory. The evidence. Oh, where were we? To give his horse archers every advantage in speed and mobility. It would have made sense for Philip to try to stage through Odysseus for logistical purposes and to give himself a redoubt upon which to withdraw should things go badly. We've seen what happens when uh, individuals get their army caught out in large open plains and have nowhere to retreat to. Uh, I can't remember the name of the Roman general who was soundly defeated by, I think it, oh wait, no, it was a Parthian shot or Scythian shot. I think it might be Parthian shot actually, not Scythian. But it's the same idea, shooting from horseback. I can't remember which Roman general it was, but one of them was soundly defeated by horse archers. He surrendered, and they poured gold down his throat. Molten gold. Yeah, they were kind of hardcore. The guy next to Caesar. I think it was. Was it around then? He was his contemporary. Yeah, it was Roman general. Gold. I think it was I think the one I'm thinking about. Oh, it was two. Manius Aquilus and Marcus Licinius Crassus. Oh man, that sounds like a rough way to die. Oof. Poor guys. They took him and just poured the melted gold on their face, since they wanted gold so badly. Brutal way to go, it really, really would be. I'm sure there was many brutal ways the enemies subjected the enemy commanders to death. Where are we? Oh yes. Carved images on an electrum cup found in a Kurgan tomb at Kol Oba offers some idea as to the composition of the Scythian army that fought Philip. Most Scythian warriors were archers, as befits a people who call themselves skolatoi, derived from the Indo-European word for archer. Armed with a composite bow, Scythian archers rode horses and perhaps were drawn mostly from the horse-breeding segments of the society. Herodotus tells us that the Scythian cavalry did not use saddles. Curiously, the horse archers wore heeled boots, but no stirrups, which have been found in the graves explored by archaeologists. Other archers served as light infantry and probably came from the society's agricultural elements. Scythian arrowheads were often barbed, were sometimes poisoned, and caused terrible wounds. The cup also depicts heavy infantry armed with a short spear, sword, and wood and leather shield. I'm actually interested to see how this... I can't remember how this went. Because the Scythians, because the Macedonian phalanx, their shields are much smaller. But I wonder would the pikes in any way be able to protect them from large archery fire. We know little about the tactics of the Scythians of Philip's day, but when Alexander fought them in 329 BC, they relied heavily on lines of horse archers attacking his infantry, one after another, a sort of caravel. That would become a similar tactic when, in the kind of, you know, Napoleonic age and stuff. They would literally do caravels where one line of horse archers would ride very close to infantry lines, fire their pistols, and then ride around again. And it would just be a rotating line of horse archers. Well, not horse archers, horse gunners. uh, when their opponents had been sufficiently weakened, the Scythian horse archers rode around the enemy in a circle, firing their arrows as they went. The role of the spear infantry and regular archers is not known, but one might reasonably surmise that the archers opened the battle with volley fire to inflict casualties on packed infantry. The spear infantry closed in on the enemy once it was on its last legs, having been levelled by the horse archers and engaged in close combat. How Philip dealt with the Scythians was not recorded, but it is clear that his pike infantry with their small shields would have been vulnerable to the Scythian archers' volley fire. His peltasts, Thracian javelineers, and mercenary hoplites, deployed in spread formations or covered with their large hoplons, or their shields, were less exposed. Philip's heavy cavalry with iron helmets, armour and leather armour and neck protectors were the most protected. In swirling combat with the horse archers, the Macedonian cavalry had the advantage with its long lances. Close in, the Macedonian macharia was likely to be more efficient than the Scythian longsword. It is likely, then, that Philip's cavalry may have played a decisive role in the battle. Perhaps, as Alexander did later, Philip waited until the horse archers had formed their circle, then sent his cavalry in to smash the enemy formation and chop it in close combat. The cavalry could engage in a long pursuit, using the superior reach of the cavalry lance to inflict heavy casualties. However it was done, Philip's army carried the day, killing Atheus in the process. Imagine living 90 years, and just because you were sort of like a little bit ego-driven, you wanted to appear strong to this king down in the south. Me, like, I didn't ask for your help. You end up dying. The Scythians and the Borussia were horse-riding nomadic pastoralists who engaged in agriculture. Horse breeding, Homer called them the mare milkers, and an extensive slave trade. The agriculturalists lived in the stable towns and villages, while the horse breeders moved their herds with the seasons, returning to the permanent settlements on a regular basis. The populous society that Philip encountered after his victory was extensive and decentralized. Philip spent the rest of the winter rounding up the young men, women, children, horses, cattle, grain, and other booty, which he took back with him when he returned to Macedonia. His age probably made him stop giving fucks. Probably. He was just like, fuck off, Philip. Dickhead. According to Justin, 20,000 young men, meaning boys and women, which included girls, were taken and a vast number of cattle, but no gold or silver. They took slaves. Pretty much every city at this point in time, slave trade was just the way it worked. I mean, even the Spartan society was built, a lot of Greek society was built heavily on kind of lower labor, but especially the Spartans. It's interesting that he does not mention any grown Scythian men. Some of them would surely have been killed in battle, but Philip must have captured substantial numbers of males, including elderly males. What happened to them? The Scythians represented a serious security threat to Philip's control of eastern Thrace. He may have set out to eradicate the threat completely by resorting to the Greek practice of killing all the adult males, and carrying off the women and children into slavery or resettlement. It is likely that Philip married Atheus's daughter to obtain legal title to the Scythian lands, and was probably this woman who was buried with Philip in his tomb. There is no information as to what befell Atheus's son and heir. If he was not killed in battle, he was probably executed. We know from Strabo that after Philip's victory, Atheus's kingdom literally ceased to exist. Philip gave its lands to the Getae and the Histriani. The column that left the Danube Delta in the early spring from the return trip to Macedonia was enormous, consisting of more than 50,000 humans, 23,000 horses, and a greater number of cattle, sheep, and other farm animals. Other booty was carried in captured Scythian carts and wagons. The column must have been several miles long and could hardly have covered more than 4 or 5 miles a day. Philip's route took him west along the south bank of the Danube and around the western end of the Great Balkan territory, or Great Balkan Mountains, where he turned southwest. His route brought the column within the territory of the Tribali, a fierce tribal people known for their cavalry and the use of the long cavalry lance. As noted in Chapter 1, the Tribali refused to allow Philip to pass through their territory unless he gave them part of the Scythian loot. When Philip refused, Justin tells us that the Tribali waged a battle in which they severely wounded Philip and killed his horse, and the booty was lost. Given the enormous size and composition of Philip's column, his troops would have had a difficult time defending it. The Tribali would have dispersed the column with a few attacks and made off with whatever they could grab. The nature of Philip's wound suggests a wild melee more than a set-piece battle, and while Justin says that the booty was lost, it is likely that only some of it was. Sounds like he was dealing with a lot of harassing. It probably wasn't just one or two wild melees. There was probably a lot of quick, sudden ambushes on different parts of the train as it went. From the land of the Tribali, Philip made his way south to the banks of the Strymon River and on to Amphipolis. In Amphipolis, he turned due west to the wet journey's final leg to Pella. The trek from the Danube Delta to Pella is almost 500 miles, and it probably took the slow-moving column 2.5 months to complete. Philip and the army arrived in Pella sometime in midsummer 339 BC. Philip's campaigns between 342 and 339 BC had created a cordon sanitaire, or a military district, that ran from the Adriatic to the Black Sea, making Macedonia free from the threat of foreign invasion for the first time in its history. The area Philip conquered in the 20 years since assuming the throne of Macedonia represented the first large land empire in Europe. As head of the Macedonian state, Philip could dispose of the spear-won lands as he saw fit. A 10% tax on all produce was levied on the conquered lands as tribute to Macedonia, and as the empire's hegemony, the Macedoni could demand service and obedience of their subjects in form of labor or military service. Beyond these stipulations, the tribes, towns, and cities of the empire were permitted to govern themselves, keep their own laws and customs, practice their own religions, speak their own languages, and levy their own taxes. They even raised and trained their own troops, although in the larger Macedonian military formations, weapons and tactics were introduced. Or in the larger cities. Some tribes and cities received favored treatment because of their importance, but most people were direct subjects who had to keep the peace and accept Macedonian rule. I'm just seeing how long there is to go. I might... How long is this chapter? The Prelude to War. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... 2, 3, 5, 6. Do I push on and finish this chapter, or do I kind of take a break here? How many pages have I done? Oh, my book. It's tearing a little. Shit. I don't know how I did that now. Oh, I'm mad about that. Yeah, I might leave the reading there for today, because the next part is quite long. I want to see if I can possibly fix that tear I have. That's kind of bad. But the next part of that chapter is called The Prelude to War. Thank you for being your audiobook while you worked. You enjoyed it. That's good to hear, Tuete, and thank you very much for joining. Always appreciate it. Let's see if there's anyone to raid into. I might go with Do I go into someone who's also doing ASMR, or do I go into someone kind of random who's doing anything? Because I don't want if people were listening to me to relax. I don't want them to be suddenly surprised. It's a hard decision. Let me take a quick scan. Oh, you know what? You know what? I'm going to raid into my friend Digby Cat. Digby is quite a cool individual. He made his own model and a lot of 3D art stuff. So he's making some art at the moment. So go give him some love. Thank you all very much for joining me as always. I hope to be able to stream maybe Wednesday. Or maybe even tomorrow. I don't know. I'll see. But it was we're coming to the end of the book slowly but surely. I can imagine maybe another 2 streams at least, and possibly 3. We might be done. But thank you all for joining. Go Rev Meal Monagut and Slán Gafoil.